You can be having sex. I've spoken to people in their 80s and 90s who are still very much sexually active. So what do we know? There's nothing bad, by the way, about having sex. There's only good things can come of having a sex life, right? So what we know is this, is that people who have regular sex live longer. All right? We know that people who have regular sex feel better about themselves. It makes you feel younger. It even makes you look younger. One study looked at people who had regular sex looked 7 years younger than their age, right? Is that a good reason? It's a good reason. We also know that couples who continue to have sex feel more emotionally connected. It gives people a positive attitude on life. It makes you calmer, it makes you less irritable. It even boosts your immune system. All proven by science, all right? One thing that's not on there is that it helps pain. So if you have a headache, the best medicine for a headache happens to be an orgasm. So next time your partner says, I have a headache, you can say, I have the best remedy, right? It improves digestion. It makes you sleep better. It improves your memory. I mean, these are just some of the things. I could talk all night about this topic. Of course, I only have about 25 minutes, but that's it. And also burns calories. Look, it's 200 calories per 30 minutes of sex, and most people say 30 minutes, who the hell it takes 30 minutes to have sex. So it's not like the best workout, but it's still a workout, okay? At least a workout for your genitals. Sex and aging, aging starts, at any age really, but when we think about aging, unfortunately there are a lot of myths, and there are a lot of things we don't know. One of the reasons I wrote the book, The Sex Bible for People Over 50, is really to address that fact, is that people don't have the information and they panic. Without information, you realize, oh, all these changes are happening in my life or in my body and in my sexuality, and I'm no longer like I was when I was 20 or 30 or even 40, and you start to panic if you're not aware of the changes that are coming. So, some of the things that are common myths, common misperceptions, is that somehow the quality of sex declines with age. And it doesn't. It actually improves with age. Many studies have shown an improvement after 50. Maybe the quantity goes down a bit, but the quality gets better. Another myth is that, wow, if a woman doesn't lubricate or he doesn't have an immediate erection, that somehow he or she is not aroused, which again, as you get older, lubrication and erection are no longer necessarily measures of your arousal. You can be very excited, but the parts aren't functioning the way they used to. But they're not necessarily always connected. Another myth about getting older, especially for the guys here, is that, oh boy, here it comes, erectile dysfunction, it's going to happen. Well, but that's also a myth. Only about a quarter of men with erectile difficulties, or who even experience erectile difficulties, require medication. Most men, and even young men, will experience erectile difficulties at any point in their life. It doesn't mean that you're now screwed. Excuse the pun, right? The other myth is that women peak in their 30s. I have found that women peak in their sexuality much later, in fact. 40s and 50s, women are describing better sex than they did in their 30s. Another myth is that orgasms when you're younger are actually better or more intense. Again, the research shows quite the opposite, in fact. A lot of women after 40 report the best orgasms of their life, and in fact, many experience orgasms for the first time after the age of 40. Again, research-based. Here's another one. Men and women with heart problems should avoid sexual activity. Do you know that only about 1% of people die, first of all, of a heart attack during sex? 1%. Of that 1%, 70% are having sex with a mistress. Just so you know, all right? So the mistress kills you. It's not the sex that's killing you, all right? The other belief is that sex has to end in an orgasm. Why? As we get older, the orgasm is no longer so necessary. Women will say many times, you know, an orgasm is nice, but it's not a necessity. And believe it or not, as men age, they say the same thing because they don't need to orgasm as often. Here's another one. Oral sex, oh, that's just what young people do. Yeah, right. Guess what? Studies are showing that more oral sex goes on after the age of 40 than under the age of 40. So that's out the window there. And the other one that really bugs me is that whenever anybody ever says sex, they mean intercourse. Why? Intercourse is part of a larger way of looking at sex, right? That's the important thing. So all kinds of activities are sexual activities, whether it's just making out, touching, massage, all of that, caressing, it's all part of sex. It's not just intercourse. Here's what we know about findings, real findings. 1 in 4 people over the age of 75 have sex once a week. That's what we absolutely know. We also know that more than 50% over the age of 60 had an active sex life and they wanted more sex. 50% over the age of men over 80 who have a partner engage in sex. I recently gave a talk in a seniors residence. The average age was something like 83 years old. The room was full. Everyone attended. I did a little thing on STI prevention, sexually transmitted infection, because one of the biggest rises in STIs is in the aging population, because they never had to use condoms. They use condoms to protect from pregnancy. They're figuring their 85-year-old lover is not going to get pregnant, so they don't use condoms. But guess what? A lot of infections, a lot of stuff there transmitted from one to the next. So I bring condoms and I do a condom demonstration. At the end, I have the guys lined up and all my condoms are gone. They're having sex. The thing is, they're having, you know, one guy to like 5 to 10 women, so they're having multiple sex. If you really want a great sex life, go into a seniors residence. 60% of men and 70% of women over 60 report a sex life that is as satisfying or even more satisfying when they compare it to their sex life at 40. That's all research-based. The message really is use it or lose it, because if sexuality is constant, again, this is what research is showing. If sexuality is constant, the biological changes, which I will talk about, are certainly less pronounced. We also know that sexual health is beneficial to your overall health, so that much we know.